Hello, and welcome to another battle report. This is Montague, and I just got finished playing a great game with my friend Greg. Came over with his Orcs. We played 2,000 points, and we were practicing for Bayou battles coming up in Houston in August. So we're both trying to tweak our lists and see what we want to play at that event. Anyway, this is my list. You've got some shield breakers there. You get a horde of them, and then you've got a Greater Earth Elemental. It's that Rasty golem that was available on eBay for a while. I was pretty happy with that. I like the paint job, so I got to put him on the table. Next to him, I've got a horde of Earth Elementals, which is my only unpainted unit for this army right now, and that's sitting there. And then I've got a regiment of Berserker Black Riders with the Strength Potion. Here's my heroes, starting with my Army Standard Battle, or Army Standard Bearer. He's got the Diadem of Dragonkind, so he's got a breath weapon. Next to him is my King, and he's got the Blade of the Beast Slayer. And then I've got a Ranger Captain with the Wings of Honeymaze, that's my Gyrocopter. And then I've got a Stone Priest with Bane Chant. Behind them you'll see my two organ cannons rather. Then a crappy picture of my Ironclad Horde. It's kind of in the works as a unit. And then two troops of Rangers, and that is my list. My opponent's got a winged, or a Crudger and a winged slasher, and he's got the ensorcelled armor. Then you'll notice he's got a flagger, and then he's got two goblin whizzes. He's got a regiment of goblin cavalry, and a regiment of great axe. He's got, yeah, there's the goblin cavalry and the great axe, kind of a better picture there. He's got a regiment of their heavy cavalry, I forget what they're called, and also that's Greg's face. And then we've got another regiment of the Fleabag Riders. And he's got a horde of trolls, a regiment of Morax, another horde of trolls, and another regiment of Morax. So he's got a ton of units. We had the same number of drops for some reason, I think probably because I had a couple of war machines, but he's got a lot of regiments. So we go ahead and deploy on his left, or on his right, my left. He deploys the Fleabag Riders and one of the units, or in his unit of heavy cavalry, up on the hill. And then he pretty much just builds up his middle. He's got a horde of trolls, and then the Great Axe, then another horde of trolls, then the Morax, and then he's got some regular Orc Boys. I think I missed those before. I'm sorry, not Orc Boys. They are Moraxes. No, he's got both units of Moraxes there, that's right. And then he's got his winged guy sort of hanging out behind him. And then he's got his Fleabag Riders on the left. On my right, I've got my Berserker Black Riders and then my Vanguarded Rangers. Then I've got my Army Standard Bearer. You'll see my other Rangers moved up to the forest. This is post-Vanguard. And then I don't know why I do this. I think I'm just playing with different deployment. I've got my Ironclad in front of my Shield Breakers, flanked by my Lord on one side, or my King on one side, and then my little crew of elementals on the left-hand side. They've got an organ gun next to them, and then I've got you can't see him, but the Stone Priest is hidden behind. And there's a little bit of a clearer picture of my center. And there's my Ranger Captain getting ready to move. I didn't really have a good approach on any of his individuals, so I couldn't do the Vanguard and first turn charge thing. So I kind of had to play it careful. I think that wound up costing me my Ranger Captain. You'll see in just a minute how that played out. But I have that other organ gun. So my plan here is that I've got two organ guns and then the crew of Defense 6 elementals on the left-hand flank. So I hope to pop at least one unit with organ gun fire, probably the Fleabags, and then he'll kill the organ gun, one or both of them, and then I'll countercharge with the Defense 6 guys and hopefully protect that flank and take out his heavy cavalry. That is my goal. I vanguard my Ranger Captain up behind this building and kind of let him hang out there until I figure out what better to do with him. And his first turn, he gets first turn, decides to go first. Excuse me. So he brings up his Fleabag Riders, and then he brings up his heavy cavalry behind them, so he's screening them with his Fleabag Riders. Pretty smart. And he advances up because he knows that's the game. The scenario we're playing is invasion. We have to get our guys across the halfway point. So he is just advancing, and he's going to try to shove everything in my face. And I kind of have to be more careful because I got to win by counterpunch. So anyway, he moves his guys up. And on the left-hand side, he moves up to that hill. My turn. He does some shooting, but it doesn't really have any effect. On On my turn, I go ahead and move up my Berserker Bark Riders behind the Rangers. My plan right now is to just go ahead and put some wounds on that Morax unit, knowing that his Fleabags will charge one unit of Rangers. I hope to pop them, then I'll countercharge with the Berserker Bark Riders, and hopefully that'll open up his flank, and I'll bring those guys in to kind of help me support and put pressure on that side of the board. I move up a little bit too, not a lot, but a little bit, just trying to get ahead of things. My shooting takes out his Fleabag Riders as expected. I know that his heavy cavalry is in range of that organ gun. I know it's going to die. I'm fine with that because I'll move the other organ gun out of the way of the elementals, and everything should work out fine. My Rangers shoot and only do like 3 wounds to the Morax units. That really wasn't useful. Those Rangers are now going to die. That Morax unit, I should have mentioned before, has the Pathfinder item. I don't have his list handy. So. And as expected on his turn, he goes ahead and charges the Organ Cannon. You can imagine how that works out. And his Fleabag Riders go into the Rangers, as I hoped. He puts a bunch of, he turns his characters around, he uses his breath weapon, both lightning bolts, puts a bunch of wounds on the Ranger Captain and wavers him. That's why I put that barrel there. He's wavered. As expected, he pops the organ gun and turns to face. On my turn, I go ahead and move the other organ gun out of the way, rotate these guys 90 degrees and move the elementals up. My plan is to surge them into combat. I also moved my Greater Elemental up a little bit, as you saw. He's there baiting a charge from the Trolls. Anyway, his Fleabag Riders do 8 wounds to the Rangers. 5 wounds to the Rangers? 5 wounds to the Rangers. They only manage that and fail to rout them, which is unfortunate because what I'd hoped to have happen didn't happen, and now my Berserker Bark Riders are kind of stuck behind this unit of Rangers and unable to come in and support, which is tragic. His Morax guys charged my other Rangers and popped them as expected. And I failed my surge roll, and I only got 2 inches, so these guys are just kind of swinging in the wind, unfortunately. Now they're blocking the charge to the Organ Cannon, that's fine, but they're going to have to take it in the face. His Trolls charge my, on his turn, his Trolls charge my, go ahead and take the bait, and they charge the Giant, my Greater Elemental. It took a long time for me to get that sentence out. And on the left-hand side, he just kind of scoots up a little bit, not committing anybody else, which is fine by me. We continue to swing at each other. He charges his Fleabags back into my Ranger Captain and kills them this time, finally. And then this fight happens. So he charges his heavy cavalry into my Earth Elementals, rolls Gangbusters, and breaks them in a single turn. I was like, oh, that's gonna hurt. So that right there was probably one of the turning points in the battle. Was he had pretty good rolls there. So he turns to face the Organ Cannon, which is not long for this world, and the rear of the Greater Earth Elemental. His Trolls managed to do a few wounds to the Earth Elemental, 5 of them, pretty decent, but they don't break him because he's hard to break. On my turn, I go ahead and flank the Trolls with the Ironclad, and then move up. I realize that I'm exposing my flank, but I think I can pop him in a single turn. I kind of adjust the movement of the Shield Breakers and my Lord, expecting the fight to sort of re-angulate now, and I need to get into it. And there's their movement. I'm trying to keep out of the range of that damn Crudger, too, because he's just sort of holding it back in the wings, waiting to get a good opportunity to counterpunch me with him. Here I charge his Fleabag Riders, thinking it's an easy win. I'll pick up their points, and then I'll be able to get on top of my plan to flank. Unfortunately, I do tons of wounds, they're on Snake Eyes, and I roll Snake Eyes. So I don't kill them. They hold their ground. They're very, very brave Fleabags. I managed to kill, I got Bane Chant off on the Ironclad, which manages to pop the Trolls in a single turn. I go ahead and turn my Giant around because my plan next turn is to use my Organ Cannon to get in the way of his cavalry and then charge on my turn against his cavalry with the Giant. Which is what happens. He charges my Organ Cannon, kills it, and faces my Giant. I don't think I'm going to kill his cavalry with my Giant, but I do think I'm going to hold them for rear charges and then hopefully maybe break them over the course of 2 rounds of combat. He comes up with his guy. I don't know what happened with that. What did he do? He's taken 6 wounds. He moves up. What happened to that? I don't know what that picture is about. Anyway, so on my turn, I charge my Ironclad into his unit of great weapons. I missed something. Ah, yes. I didn't get a picture of his double charge. Not sure where that is. So if you look on the right at this picture, he went ahead and charged also 2 units, his Great Axe and then also his Trolls, into my Ironclad, and then brought those guys forward. The Trolls and that guy, however, they failed to break the Ironclad on his turn. They actually only wound up doing like 4 wounds to him. It's pretty crazy. So they blew that combat and went back. So on my counter charge, my Lord goes into the flank of the Trolls, my Great Weapons go into the Trolls, I figure I'll pop the Trolls, and then my Ironclad go into his Great Axes. My Giant gets into a fight with these guys. He goes into them. And I have to go ahead and pop these guys one more time with my Berserker Bark Riders. He originally thought about charging in to the Berserker Bark Riders with his guys. This is his other charge. Sorry, I didn't go into him. He went into me. He originally thought about this charge, but decided not to do it. So he just went in with those guys. He did, I don't know, a couple of wounds to the Berserker Bark Riders, and they didn't kill him. So anyway, I did go back into them on my turn and popped them. Oh, this is the turn I spilled my beer on a dice roll, so I just thought I'd point out my shame, my dishonor at spilling my we'll call it imported Wisconsin beer that you can't import from Wisconsin, so technically smuggled, but right there, New Glarus Spotted Cow, great beer if you're ever in Wisconsin, it's fantastic. And this is my Giant getting payback for the loss of his elemental buddies. So he comes in, he does a bunch of wounds, rolls real well, and then I rolled an 11 to pop him with no inspiration nearby. They die. And he turns around to face the rear. I do some wounds to his guys. My Ironclad do a decent amount of wounds to his great weapons, but his Trolls die. And then I re-angulate with my Lord in front. Now he's got Great Axes, or he's got Morax, and then he's got his Crudger in the front. They're probably going to double charge my King and kill him. Which is pretty much what we expect. I back off after I don't kill those guys. And that's exactly what he does. Crudger comes in, Morax comes in, they pop my King. Now he's got more bodies in my deployment zone, in my half of the board. So he's really doing well this game. I haven't been able to break through yet, and I don't have many turns left to do it. We're already on turn 5. I've only got this turn and next turn to actually get points across the finish line, and it's looking pretty bleak right now. On the right hand side, he did turn his Morax to face charge from my Berserker Bark Riders. So on my turn, yes, on my turn I go back in. He doesn't do many wounds to me. I'm back up. I'm up to 6, something like that, on the Ironclad. I only take like 4 wounds. I took it from shooting from his wizards and stuff. Yep, he pops my King. That's sad. And there we go. I actually wind up charging back into him and killing his unit. There's not 20 wounds on my unit. I bumped the dice. But anyway, I wound up charging back in and I popped that unit, which was good. The Ironclad performed pretty well. My Shield Breakers go into his big unit, but only do a few wounds. My Berserker Bark Riders charged his Morax and popped him in a single turn. They already had 6 wounds, so that helped a lot. And that is some kind of shot. I'm not sure what the purpose of that picture is. Might be a mistake. Again, not sure what's going on there. Yes, the sort of the last turn I get. So, bottom of 6, he brings his Crudger out into my deployment zone, kills something back there. I go ahead and charge his Flagger to get those guys into his half of the board. I charge his unit of Morax with my Great Weapons, and I charge his War Drum with my Earth Elemental, my Greater Elemental. And that's how things ended. I wound up, of course, popping his Flagger. He didn't have a chance, but my overrun sucked, so I only won a couple of inches on each one. which meant that I only got my Berserker Brock Riders into his half of the board. With his Crudger on his half of the board, we wound up fighting to a draw. So at the end of the day, we drew against one another. I think both of us just decided to play in the middle of the board mostly. On the left-hand side, I think my plan was sound. I think I probably should have opened it up a little bit and had my elementals a little bit further out to the left behind those organ guns, just kind of threatening a counter charge from the beginning. Maybe I could get another round of shooting with them, or put just one volley into that unit of heavy cavalry. But the elementals, I don't know if they did their job or not. I don't know if that trade was worthwhile. I did protect my flank. I was surprised he didn't try to orient himself so he could flank my heavier units, but he didn't. On the right-hand side, I played that really foolishly. I deployed it really foolishly. If you're going to have a flanking force, they need to be able to be free. You can't have somebody in front of them, especially if it's a level 1 guy and not a height 2 guy. It's not even really providing you much in the way of cover. So you really have to. I really have to remember to open up and let the Berserker Brock Riders kind of roam free a little bit. They were stuck for 2 extra turns. They didn't need to be, and I think that could have been the difference between a win and a tie. Dice, on the other hand, worked out really kind of well for both of us. He had some great, he had a great hold on his guys on the right-hand side and a really good round of combat against my big elemental unit, my horde. My greater elemental had a great round of combat in turn against those guys, and I had a couple other really good rounds of combat. So Dice really didn't decide it, and I think we both played fairly well. I think we both probably made some mistakes that we could have capitalized on a little bit better, and most of them I think probably happened in deployment. And there you go. So that's the end of the battle. That's my first battle in a while. I'll probably play a couple of more now that I'm at summertime and I'm not in class. So I hope you enjoy.